Pokemon Showdown has just updated to allow for Regulation E, plus all the new Pokemon returning in Regulation E, and all the Pokemon that are coming into the game through the DLC. Now, in today's video, we're basically going to be primarily focusing on Okidogi, Munkidori, Fezandipiti, and Ogerpon. Basically, just going to be my initial thoughts on how good I think these Pokemon could be. Basically, from my opinion, what we can see with their moves, their stats, their abilities, and whatnot. And then also, I might touch on a couple of things I've seen from the community. So, first guy we're going to touch on here is Ogerpon. Now, Ogerpon, for those of you who do not know, actually has four forms, right? So, he has his base form, Ogre form, which is just the standard grass type. He has the Cornerstone, which is a grass rock. Fire type, which is the Hearthstone, which is grass fire. And then we have the Wellspring, which is grass water. So, he has 4 different forms, and depending on the mask in which he holds, yeah, he will be different. Now, I do believe if you want to use, for example, this one here, the Cornerstone Mask, you are forced to hold the item. Obviously, this is still not looking perfect. I'm sure they will fix this up in the near future. But basically, first guy I want to look at here is the base form Ogerpon. Now, base form Ogerpon is very interesting because I believe this is still locked into its locked terror. This is the Teal mask form, but it doesn't require an item to use. So basically, this one can do a couple things, right? So really interesting is this is a follow me mon, which is kind of cool. It also has things like leech seed plus sub, so you could potentially run like a sub seed. It also has its signature move being Ivy Cudgel, which is really good. So if you have a look at that one here, for this type it would just be a grass type move, 100 power, 100 accuracy. It is also a high crit chance as well, which is really interesting and kind of what I'm going to touch on with the set here. But if we look at its stats here, pretty good speed, 110 speed is very nice. 120 attack is very good, especially when you have an ability to like Defiant, which I didn't touch on. Obviously, if its stats get lowered by like Intimidate, it gets the +2 attack, which is pretty damn cool. Very nice speed stat here. Its bulk isn't anything insane, but 80, 84, and 96 is pretty respectable. You're going to be able to eat at least one super effective attack at least. But the cool thing this set has actually going for it is it can run any item at once. So you still get the speed boost when you Terra on this set, but you can run whatever item you want. And I was talking to one of the boys about it, and we were actually saying like scope lens plus focus energy on this could be pretty cool, because you're a Defiant mon that then like is 100% crit rate, which is pretty damn nice. But look, this mon, it can do a lot, right? It can be a support mon, it can be an offensive mon. Like if we have a look at its physical attacks here, it obviously gets Fighting Stab, gets Horn Leech as well, which I do think is really good. It gets Low Kick, Play Rough, gets Knock Off, Power Whip for a really strong stab move, which I don't think you're ever going to run Power Whip. I do think Ivy Cudgel is good, but maybe there's a world where you need it. It gets Stab Trailblaze as well, which is pretty nice. It gets U-Turn, like Wood Hammer as well, which is another really good offensive move. Things like Bullet Seed as well could potentially be good. I could also see Grassy Glide being pretty good as well if you pair it up with something like Rillaboom. So yeah, this mod, it's got a really deep bag, which I do think is pretty nice. Obviously, it has the ability to both be a support and an offensive mon. It can also be like a semi-support where it's like you could run like 2 offensive attacks, Ivy Cudgel. And actually something as well I didn't even touch on there. It has Spiky Shield as its protect move, which is actually like really good. Like this mod already like it eats hits off Urshifu pretty nicely. So having something like Spiky Shield as well to like, I guess just eat incoming physical attacks off mons like, for example, Qian Pao's a great one. You can break Qian Pao's Sash. And then with Terry, you can potentially add speed and one-shot it too, which I do think is pretty damn cool. We'll quickly have a look, actually. What other status moves does this mon have? We already touched on a lot of it. It has Helping Hand. I don't know if you're going to want to slot Helping Hand on this. Spikes is probably not a singles move there. Swords Dance could actually be really good as well. Like, I could definitely see SD plus, like, Redirection being really good. And then, yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, you're probably not really looking to set the weather, terrain, or, like, Scary Face for your team. But SD, Spiky Shield are both really cool. Taunt actually is really nice as well, having a fast Taunt user. Like, this mon just, like, straight up walls Amoonguss, which is pretty damn nice. The next one, though, let's just go in order here, right? We'll have a look at the rock version here. So, if this version terrors, it gets the it gets a physical defense buff when it terrors, which is pretty damn nice. In terms of moves, obviously, things are going to be pretty similar. I would assume, like, sorry, when I say pretty similar, I should specify, I don't think anything actually changes through their movesets. The only difference is Ivy Cudgel on this one will be a rock type move, which, by the way, a 100 attack, like 100 attack damage, 100 accuracy rock move, like, is actually insane. Like, rock is a fantastic coverage move. So that is really damn good. I could definitely see a world in where, like, this one with, like, Ivy Cudgel, like, maybe Horn Leech, Spiky Shield, and then, like, maybe Redirection. I don't know. Maybe, like, even Sub could be really damn good. But yeah, I definitely think this has a lot of potential. It is probably the worst of the group, but I could definitely see a world in where in, like, Sand, this one could be pretty good. Its biggest issue is it gets Sturdy, which is, like, I think out of the 4 abilities is definitely the worst, because realistically, this mon's not really getting one shot that often, and like, yeah, look, I don't know. Maybe it's good. Maybe it could be really good for like Urshifu. I'm not 100% too sure. But I do think, you know, the Cornerstone Mask is probably the worst of the group. Then we'll check out the Fire one here. So Fire one's pretty cool. This one gets an attack boost when it terrors, which is definitely the most offensive of the group. And it also has Mold Breaker as well, which could be really cool for obviously Pokemon like Heatran that want to, you know, use their Flash Fire to basically absorb your fire type hits. So that is pretty cool. Shit. I was going to say even mods like Chandelure and Ceruledge as well, but I'm not too sure, you know, because like, again, they just resisted at that point. So maybe it's, you know, it's not as important. But Ivy Cudgel, I have seen people saying that the Ivy Cudgel in, I think it was in Sun, could actually one-shot a Iron Hands off this thing, which is pretty nutty. I think you had to Terra for it. But yeah, just like, if you have a look at Iron Hands as like physical bulk, right? This one has a like 108 physical defense, really good. Yeah, 154 HP is actually insane. And apparently the Fire one actually straight up one-shots it, which is actually pretty nutty. This one's definitely the most offensive. I could definitely see a world in where you're running something like potentially Grassy Glide, Trailblaze as well, I think is going to be good. Obviously, Ivy Cudgel is there, and they're probably just like Horn Leech. Again, it all comes down to what the team is, right? This could also be like Woodhammer if you really want to pick up like Flutter Mains. Not to mention, this one's matchup into Flutter Mains actually not that bad, considering like pretty decent special defense, plus a good enough attack stat to like probably just like straight up threaten a one-shot with Ivy Cudgel. But yeah, I definitely think the Fire one, potentially the best. It's definitely the best offensive one, I think. Again, even like we touched on it before, like this also gets like Swords Dance. Like maybe there's a world where you just like drop this. We drop this. We just go like Protect. Sorry, not Protect. It's just, we go Spiky Shield, boys. Spiky Shield. Could definitely see a world where like Spiky Shield plus like SD, Ivy Cudgel, and then like Horn Leech is the play, right? Like you get that +1 speed. You've got the SD, and then you start firing off some like pretty powerful stab moves here, especially like the regen coming off this. Could definitely be pretty sick. But then finally, you know, at least for the Ogerpons, the one I'm probably the most excited for is actually the Water one. Now, there's a couple of reasons for the Water one, right? So, first of all, it has Water Absorb. What's that means? It basically means that Urshifu can't Rapid Strike it. It can't Surging Strike it, which I think is really, really important. But also, I definitely think this is arguably the best defensive one because it has Follow Me, right? So, Follow Me is like really good on a mon like this because like one, again, with Water Absorb, it just eats Urshifu for days. Two, it doesn't work like how Rage Powder does, for example. So the way Rage Powder works is if you're a grass type, you ignore it. What does that mean? That means this mon could easily eat hits from, say, sorry, it could redirect like Grassy Glides coming out of the Rillabooms, obviously. It could also, you know, redirect the Urshifu Rapid Strikes and just mean like, hey, it doesn't matter if you Safety Goggles, doesn't matter if you Terra Grass, you're always attacking into me. And then you pair it up with something like, you know, potentially like a Terra Fairy, Terra Ghost, whatever it is you want to run. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you actually can't touch me with this Urshifu, I hard wall you. And then I'm also just like a really good offensive mon anyway, because like, you look at this mon's stats, right? It does not need much investment to be a good defensive mon, right? Like, HP stat, yeah, you're going to max that out. Speed stat, it's like, if you're playing it as like a support on Tailwind, like maybe you could do that. You probably don't even need that. You honestly don't need any investment to run Adamant. And then you could really just like invest into bulk, something like that, you know, like, obviously we'll have to wait and see how the meta plays out before we start doing all our spreads. But yeah, I could definitely see a world where this mon, like as a support with like Follow Me, Leech Seed, potentially like Sub, and then like Spiky Shield could be like sick. You probably want like some attacking moves, so I'm sure you just like smack Ivy Cudgel on there and just say, hey, I've got this 100 base power physical move that just, you know, does a lot of damage, right? It does a lot of damage, has a high crit chance, so yeah. I definitely think this one, it's definitely the most intriguing to me. I think it has the most potential. As I said, I think the Fire one is probably the most straightforward, right? It's very offensive. Also, this one has like Encore and shit as well. Like this, dude, this thing can be an insane support. It can be a insane offensive one. Dude, there's like so much this does. Thankfully, it's been pretty min-maxed. Special attack's pretty dog shit, very similar to how they did Urshifu. Not quite as bulky as Urshifu, but obviously, again, like you have a look at this, it's got the offensive stats and decent enough bulk to be really good. So yeah, I think Ogerpon is definitely going to be a very interesting mon in the meta. And again, like its ability to like match up super well into a lot of the top mons is like really, really cool. Unfortunately, though, these mons, I did kind of touch on it, they're all stuck to their masks, which is the one big issue I kind of have with it. But the other thing we really need to confirm, at least with the Ogerpons, is when they Terra, do they get double stab buffs? So for example, like if I'm a grass type, I get, you know, stab is 1.5. If I Terra, it's 2 point, you know, it's like 2 times basically adaptability boost. Do I get that on both Ogerpons? Like, so for example, is my Fire one, if I'm going to use the Terra Mask on this, do I get adaptability on both my stabs? That's basically the big question I have. So yeah, that's something we're going to have to find out about. Anyway, that's enough of the Ogerpons. Again, kind of just like my first initial thoughts there. I think they're going to be very, very interesting to say the least. But next we have the, what do you call them? The Loyal 3, I forget what what do you call them? The Lousy 3 or something like that. But yeah, anyway, we got, Munkidori, Okidogi, and Fezandipiti. Munkidori is really interesting. So when we take a look at the stats here, this one is clearly a fast, special attacker. 106 is pretty decent, right? It does the job. 130 special attack, obviously fantastic. Its HP and special defensive stats are pretty nice, but its defensive stat is really where it gets let down. But this one is interesting for a couple reasons. So first of all, it has Fake Out. Fake Out's very, very interesting. And I guess I'll quickly touch on the abilities as to why. So it has Frisk, which in an open sheet format is like useless, right? As someone who plans on playing defense, if I'm going to use Munkidori, I'm not going to use Frisk because I have open sheet. I'm like, oh, I know, you kind of know what I mean. But it has Toxic Chain, so a 30% chance to badly poison, basically meaning you can Fake Out and just poison your opponent and, man, you're good. You're freaking good, right? Badly poisoning mons as well is really freaking good. Like, because it's not like the flat 12%, it scales, right? It goes like 12, 16, 24, 30, and so on, right? So like really, really good, especially for like stall mons as well. Which is, yeah, definitely pretty nice. This mod also has access to things like Nasty Plot, which is pretty good. It has Parting Shot as well. Pretty quick Parting Shot's nice. Like, I could definitely see a world where this one's like played as like a support with like Fake Out, Parting Shot. And then probably, does it have spread moves? Does it get Sludge Wave? Yeah, okay, it gets Sludge Wave. Also, for those who don't know, I'll kind of touch on this more when I get to Fezandipiti. Toxic Chains actually procs on any attack. So this Pokemon's moves, right? This isn't like their physical moves, it's their moves in general. Any attack coming from this mon can poison, right? So things like Sludge Wave having the 10% chance to poison, and then adding on, the additional 30% chance here, which I think would go down to like a 37% chance to poison. But then you're hitting both mods is obviously really, really good. We also see access to things like Calm Mind and whatnot on this mon. Let's have a look. What special moves do we actually get here that I think could be good? Clear Smog's obviously always decent, especially because it can poison, and obviously clear stats from things like Dondozo. Basically, that mon just keeps getting worse. I could see a world in where Hex is good because you have the ability just to like obviously poison your opponent and then like Hex them. Psychic and Psyshock both obviously really good stab moves there. And then yeah, really maybe could Stored Power be good? Like maybe Calm Mind Stored Power is a thing. Acid Spray as well is like a really good supportive move. Like if you can like throw out -2 like special defenses and also get burns, like that could also be really good. Like I see a world in where like you run this thing like really bulky. Like let's just say like you just got like max speed Timid. Yeah, it actually hits at not a bad speed tier because like 170, what is it? I think 169 is the Garchomp speed tier, right? So like 173 is good. And then I'm sure you could like, even like don't even necessarily need that, right? Like you could run this down to like speed creepy team, go like 156 on like a Tailwind team. And then, find out what you need to live like, say, for example, Urshifu, right? Like say that's like your calc for an Urshi, and then you just run like Bold or something like that, right? And I do think 31 attack is probably fine on this one because of Fake Out. And again, like, I think this mon just being there basically to like spam out like Toxic Chains could be really freaking good. And I do think like, as I said, there's also a world where like the Nasty Plot / Calm Mind sets are good with like Sludge Wave Psychic, something like that, right? You kind of use it as like that's not Psychic, Scott. Yeah, you kind of just use it as like a special sweeper, right? I could definitely see that happening too. And then at that point, you just probably just run like Timid, be like, hey, what do I need to run at like +2 basically to KO things, right? Could run that up to like, I feel like that's a little bit too much, but maybe run something like that, and then yeah, just like start picking up KOs. So next up here, we're actually going to look at Fezandipiti, as I like to call it. And look, I just want to apologize. Fezandipiti, actually, I don't think it's that bad, right? I saw guys like Moxie Boosted and whatnot talking about it on Twitter, and I'll get into that in a second, right? So you look at this mon, right, and you're like, damn, compared to its buddies, right? Let's just quickly pull them back up, right? Munkidori, and Ogerpon, right? Let's just have a not Ogerpon, what's it called? Okidogi. Yeah, Okidogi. Sorry, I'll have to get used to that, right? We look at Okidogi, right? Bulk, good. 88, 115, 86, fantastic. This mon could be a fantastic Assault Vest user. 128 attack's really good. 80 speed on a defensive mon's really great. Min-max, that 58 special attack is like whatever, it's not going to click it. Same with Munkidori, right? Its physical bulk's kind of bad, but for the most part, it's pretty min-maxed outside of its physical bulk, right? Decently quick, hits really hard. Again, these bonds both hit really hard. 128, 130, great. Fezandipiti, you're like, damn, 70 special attack on what, like, everyone thought was going to be the best special attacker on this, like, out of these three. And then you're like, 91 attack, weird, but it gets Technician. Maybe it's good with Technician, right? But then it's just like, you look at it, like, bulk's good, like 88 HP is nice, 125 special defense is really good, 82 defense is not bad. Like, again, similar to Munkidori, Ogerpon, it's gonna live what it needs to, right? It's not getting one shot by too much in the meta game. But what I saw guys like Moxie Boosted and whatnot talking about is like, all right, you know, if you have a look at this mon's move pool, right, actually, before we jump into that, have a look. So we want basically attacks under 60 base power, right? So gets aerial ace, not a stab, not bad though, like its physical attacks higher, wing attack, again, it's like same shit as aerial ace. We're looking down, acrobatics, like poison tail. Poison tail is your best stab move for what's it called? Technician, but at that point, like, just use poison jab. Yeah, and you look down, and it just doesn't look good for this mon, right? Like, yeah, it gets quick attack, technician quick attack, maybe off 81 attack, it's not good. But then what you gotta look at here is kind of what I was touching on with Munkidori, right? Which is, it has toxic chains, right? Which, again, works on any move this mon clicks. Any move. So it doesn't matter. Sorry, I should say any offensive move, I believe. Actually, is it offensive move? It just says this Pokemon's move. So, like, imagine, I don't even know if it's status moves, but if Munkidori could parting shot and hit the toxic chains, that'd be kind of nutty. But basically, right, this mon has a couple things going for it, right? So one, it's actually a Tailwind setup, which is pretty cool. It gets Tailwind, which is nice, you know, gives your team good speed control. But then what it also has is access to Icy Wind, another speed control move, right? So 55 base power, 95% accuracy, lowers their speed by 1 always as long as it hits. That also has a chance to put badly poison. What else does it have? It has a Stab Dazzling Gleam that hits both Pokemon, that has a 30% chance on each Pokemon to badly poison. You guys see where I'm going with this? I also believe, like its friends, it actually gets it doesn't get Sludge Wave. Okay, they did kind of stuff it there. Let's actually have a look, right? Special. God, boys, I'm trying to rush this out, sorry. Special moves here, right? What do we get? So it's got Gleam. It's got Heat Wave. Okay, so you can go for burns and poisons. Kind of nice. You know, Hurricane and Rain maybe is a thing. You know, Sludge Bomb. If you just want a powerful stab move, obviously Sludge Bomb's always there. It's, like, really consistent. Stab Moonblast as well could always be pretty damn good. Acid Spray, similar to what we were saying about Munkidori, right? You know, if you run this thing on Tailwind, like Timid Max Speed is your Icy Wind setter, with Tailwind and whatnot, this one could just, like, start lowering everything's, you know, special defense by 2 and having a chance to badly poison them, which is, yeah, pretty damn good if you ask me. But yeah, this mon, I'm really interested in this mon, right? It looks like a crazy support mon. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it's at first when I saw this, I'm like, dude, this thing's dog shit. Like, they really fucked its stats. Like, it's not min-max. Like, literally, like, I do think this mon wants to click its special moves, right? But I think the way they balanced this was like, hey, if we give this thing, like, even 91 special attack on this might have actually been too much, right? Like, if it had the ability to, like, you know, drop a, for example, like, I don't think 70 special attack is going to be enough to drop a Chien-Pao to its Sash. But if it could drop Chien-Pao to its Sash and then also just badly poison it and remove it that same turn, that would be kind of crazy. But yeah, I definitely think Fezandipiti, at first glance, I thought it was going to be dog shit. I'm not going to lie. But now I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude, Fezandipiti actually might be him. This guy is... he's got something going for him. You know, in terms of items, I'm not too sure yet. Probably Citrus Berry would be it. But yeah, I'm sure there's something along those lines that, you know, someone will figure out. And then finally, the dog, Big Okidogi. I do think this mon potentially is going to be the best out of all of them. It's probably the only one in hindsight that doesn't want to run Toxic Chains, but I could also see a world in where, like, Toxic Chains is just good. But Guard Dog making it immune to Intimidate, also giving it +1 when it's intimidated and it can't be forced to switch out, is pretty damn good on a Pokemon that has 128 physical attack. You know, it's pretty damn nice. Throw that on there. But yeah, this mon has a lot going for it. So it's got Bulk Up, right? So Bulk Up's really good. It has Drain Punch. You know, I believe it has Poison Jab. It also gets, I think it gets Gunk Shot as well, but personally, I just like the consistency of, you know, Poison Jab. And then it also gets access to things like Snarl, right? Obviously, on a set like this, you're probably just running Protect. And also, I'm not too sure. Probably, like, again, Citrus Berry would probably do really good on this thing, right? You don't need much attack at all. You could honestly just, like, literally run that. Like, run that, go max, you hit that, like, 107 speed tier you need to hit, chuck 1 point in defense. Yeah, dude, something like that could actually be kind of insane, and then you just, like, run Adamant with Bulk Up. And then, like, they also can't Intimidate you, which, like, every team has an Intimidate mon, so, like, on lead, this thing's gonna be kind of nutty. I also think, sorry, I shouldn't say I also think, I was talking about Snarl before. I could definitely see a world in where, like, the Assault Vest set's really good. What other physical moves do we have that we could, like, slap on here? Does it get Heavy Slam? Heavy Slam. It doesn't. It gets Iron Head, though. So, like, something like Iron Head, even Knockoff could be pretty good. Gets P-Jab, Psychic Claws, yeah. Dude, this one gets, like, a lot of good coverage, actually. High Horsepower as well is really good into, like, the opposing the opposing loyal 3 here. So I could definitely see a world where like you run like AV on this, but instead of like investing all this, you just go like maybe like probably not even that much, right? You probably just go like 160 adamant and then like just, you know, keep the same energy. Just make this mon insanely bulky. So yeah, I can see a world in where that happens. What about status moves? Do we have anything good? I'm pretty sure it gets like parting shot as well, right? Could be wrong. So it gets sub taunt. I mean, again, a bulky taunt mon as well, like a decent lead. You could use this to counter out like Amungus's. Oh, and then of course the other one I forgot, How. So you could like, again, you could use this as like a bulky support where like you're running like 12 here. You go this, you run like a citrus berry, and then you're like, hey, you can't intimidate me, and I'm gonna sit here and spam How, like how Arcanine did in earlier formats. It's like, all right, I'm just here. Like, I'm living, you know, I hit freaking hard. You can't ignore me, but at the same time, I'm so bulky that, like, even if you double me up, you're not going to take me down. So, I definitely think the dog is probably going to be the best, of these 3 at least. I think the dog actually might be better than Ogerpon as well. It's hard to say. I think Ogerpon has the most potential, and it's definitely going to take the most getting used to. I think that mon that one has, like, it sky's the limit. Okidogi, I think, is just going to be a really good, consistent Pokemon, right? This guy into things like, for example, Incineroar in future formats, I think is going to be really good. Mainly because a lot of people, like, are saying, like, oh, Incineroar with Terra Fairy is going to be insane, right? Because it's like, oh, you want to hit me with a fighting move? You can't, I'm Terra Fairy. But then it's like, hey, you can't intimidate me. You're going to give me +1. And then, like, I'm just going to Poison Jab you. It doesn't matter if you don't Terra. My Poison Jab's still going to do a shit ton of damage at +1. So yeah, I think the dog is going to be the most consistent out of these mons. It's just so bulky. It hits so damn hard even without investment. It's just got great moves as well. Things like, you know, I obviously got Drain Punch here as well. I think it gets like CC, right? Yeah. Dude, it gets CC. Let's just have a look like one more time at its physical moves here. Body Press, I could see a world where Body Press is good. Just get Iron Defense. You don't get Iron Defense, do you? No, it doesn't. Okay, thank God. That would have been a little too crazy. That would have been a little too crazy. But yeah, it gets Drain Punch. I don't think Facade's going to matter. Do now Terrify is probably not good because you already have a weakness to ground types there. But yeah, dude, these mons look pretty insane. Should I cover the other new mons? Nah, I think I'll leave them for a different video. I just want to cover the main ones from this video. But anyway, yeah, guys, of course, regulations is up. You know, go test it out. You know, tell me what you guys, you know, find. Tell me what you think's broken. Like, honestly, I'm just so excited for this shit, dude. I can't wait to finish work today and actually just play. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for this one. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.